everybody. It's me, Carmine DeStefano, the Bookman. And we have come to the end of another year. Great. So why not do our annual year in review for the gaming titles that came out this past year and give them their honorable and dishonorable mention. Starting with Most Ambitious. Battleborn. Gearbox knows about games that are first-person shooters that require experience points to level up, but this was their first foray into the online battle arena genre. And a lot of people really didn't get into their blocky animations, their cartoonish styles, and some of the characters that were in the game itself. The shooting mechanic was kind of erratic, the melee mechanic was terribly erratic, and the fact that you couldn't even pick the chapters that you wanted to play through online with a random generated option of one of 3 that you could play depending upon what the majority voted. There were a lot of things that didn't work, but they did try hard, and it seemed as though they did when they held it over time in and time again. What also hurt was the release of another game by another company that is known for its RPG aspects, making a similar type of title. But here's to Gearbox for at least trying. Surest Bet. The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess in HD. When you have one of the greatest games in recent history redone in 1080p, you've got yourself a sure bet. This game kind of just came out and it could have been bought, as most other games, digitally or hard copy, but there was no real fanfare for it until it was released. But even so, it's still the great game it was years ago on both the Wii and the GameCube, only now in high definition. It's clearer, it controls better with the gamepad, and is still that extraordinary experience we had before. And whether you want to dive right through it, or you want to take your time and engage in every single sub-quest there is, this game will keep you playing for hours and keep you coming back. And boy, does it appear spectacularly. Most Coveted. The Nintendo Switch. I've already said Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mass Effect Andromeda, so I'm going to go with the console that is going to produce one of those titles, and many others. The Nintendo Switch was announced recently, and it looks really interesting. And if it does uphold the specifications they announced prior to it actually being announced, long before when the PS4 and Xbox One were just released, this is going to be one powerful system. You can take it anywhere you want, sort of like the Wii U, but a little bit more expansive on that. It's got a bunch of third-party companies looking to produce games for it, and it seems to be very easily handled as well as durable. Because you know, if Nintendo makes it, it's going to be durable. So now, here's to hoping that the titles will warrant all this attention and this hype. Least Coveted. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Not to say I'm not looking forward to this game, because I am. I've been a Resident Evil fan since the very first one. I've bought every numbered title, some of the spin-offs, and even saw most of the movies in the movie theater. They sucked, but that's not the point. The point is, I am huge on Resident Evil. However, seeing as how it's kind of hit a snag and a lot of people haven't liked it, and most of the spin-offs have been horrible as of late, noting that Capcom is going back to its origins makes me sort of interested, but not as interested as I am other games coming out. Be that as it may, I'm still interested in seeing enemies that are not caterpillars or freaks of nature that became that way because of injecting themselves with some kind of virus, and I'm interested in going back to what seems to be a haunted house with very angry residents that want to kill you. It seems fun, and I'm sure it might be good, but when it comes to comparing it to other titles this coming year that I'm looking forward to, it sort of doesn't stack up as high. Most frustrating. Dishonored 2. Now I could have said Doom and I could have said Final Fantasy 15, but this one holds a special place in the bowels of my fucking hatred. Dishonored 2 sucks so much ass, it's horrendous. And I think what frustrates me the most is not just that Arcane keeps making games like this, but people keep praising games like this. You can't see anything. You get stuck in a spot, you're dead. You get seen from a mile away, 50 people are attacking you, and you're dead. Your resources are scarce. You have powers that sort of get you more in trouble than they do get you out of trouble. You have options, but those options are go in there head first and get killed, try to sneak around, get caught and get killed, or try to use your abilities, accidentally get caught and get killed. I died more in that game than I did any of the From Software games, even on first play. That was one of the most agonizing experiences I've ever had playing a video game, and how it gets praised as high as it does makes no sense to me. The goddamn storyline was nothing. The characters were nothing. Everything about it was bland, colorless, the animations were choppy, and oh, by the way, did I mention it crashed 7 times in one playthrough? That's a lot of crashing. This game is an abomination, and if you haven't played it, don't. Most disappointing. Street Fighter V. Again, I could have said Final Fantasy 15, but seeing as how it was more the ending that went from me not caring about the game to me sort of being interested to me not caring again at all, it really wasn't as bad as Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V was a decent game. It was fun at times. It was good when I could go online and play people that weren't taking advantage of how easy they made it to play while I was still doing things back from the old days. But ultimately, the game had no real single-player tournament-style fighting. And these titles are all about single-player tournament-style fighting. The multiplayer sort of happens while you're playing the game and somebody invades, or you can choose to do that. But they did give it an expansive story mode, which was pretty interesting, but not challenging at all until the end. You also have to buy every character you want to unlock, which I understand they've been doing, and I don't fucking like it. I did appreciate the microtransaction aspects, but you don't really get as much fight money if you're not doing the story modes, or the long story mode, or survivals, which take forever to get through after the easy and, in some cases, normal difficulties. Not only that, but the online fighting doesn't reward you as much, and as I've said, you never know when some asshole spent $250 on a controller you're not going to buy to have more response from his motions than you have from yours on the PS4 controller, which did not really lend itself well to this game. And above all things, when I spent over $60 on a game, I don't want to spend another $3 or $4 on fucking skins or have some kind of free microtransaction bullshit. I want you to give me some real fight money when I do even the smallest tasks. They tried updating it, I know they're coming up with a new season, but this game was not what I hoped it would be. Most pleasant surprise. Dark Souls 3. It's hard to say that a game that I expected to be really good, being really good, is a pleasant surprise. But really with Dark Souls 3, what I mean is that there was so much more to it than I originally thought it would be. Usually with Dark Souls games, it's very linear, very straightforward. You can choose how you want to go about the ending or build your character, but more or less, you join a covenant, you leave a covenant, you join another one. You light the fire, you don't light the fire. In this case, everything you did that originally seemed hard was easy, and everything you did that originally seemed easy was hard. Like lighting the bonfire. You could go the dark ending, you could go the light ending, you could go the firekeeper endings. Joining covenants was just picking up medals that you then equipped to be in that covenant at any time. There were so many side areas, there were so many non-playable characters of such great interest. The game itself looked really, really good, and the backgrounds were better than I could have expected. And although it seemed like a simple kingdom, there were so many different areas that you could take on yourself if you wanted to. Everything was more or less in front of your face, just a matter of whether or not you wanted to take it. And for a From Software game that doesn't really give you that many options, Dark Souls 3 did. And that I really appreciated. And the game of the year for 2016 is Fire Emblem Fates. Whether it's Birthright, Conquest, or Revelation, these are the best games you're going to play this year, or at least the best games I've played this year. Fire Emblem has always had its own specific mechanic, and it doesn't change here, though it expands on a lot of things and gives you different options and abilities to attack your enemies or defend against enemy attacks. The characters are a lot different than what you're used to, like Azama and Charlotte and Camilla to an extent. It has Camilla to any extent, and the storylines themselves, though the maps don't really change as much in Conquest or Birthright, the Revelation maps are extremely different from those two. The storylines go about things extremely differently, and if you choose one path or the other, you always feel the results of your actions. Always. It of course has the children that you can build one way or another before they're even born. It has the relationships. It has the support dialogues. It has so many things that make you want to keep coming back. And when you have an expansive roster, there are so many different ways you can play a game, which also increases its replay value. These three games are really top-notch. They're well polished. They're fun to play. They look great. And although they're only on the 3DS, which I'm sure not everyone has, they still are must-buys at this point if you want a real challenge. So that was 2016's Year in Review. What'd you think? Leave your comments, questions, and criticisms below. Like, subscribe, and have a Happy New Year. Thank you all for watching. I have more for you soon to come. So stay tuned, take care, and have a great day.